Alright, what's up everybody, Mr. Mira here, and today we're beginning to look at Java programming. We're going to discuss three things: order, symmetry, and then finally Java. Now order, we're going to kind of talk about structure and flow in terms of order, so it's two subtopics there. But we're beginning with that topic of order. Now programming and computers have a very specific order that things are executed in, rules that they follow. Even small programs have a lot happening, and if we were to open up a program here, we could see that happening. So we're going to open up a Java file and we're going to type in public class Shutter Island. And we're going to do curly braces. And right away, things have changed colors on the screen. There's a lot happening. The word class changed to a purple color. That is because it is a keyword. So anything that I type that changes to a purple color means it is a keyword. And what that means is it cannot be used in any other way. Every program that we type will belong to a class. So this will most often be one of the first things that we see on the screen. Shutter Island is the name of the class. We can give a class any name we choose as long as it is not already a keyword in Java. So otherwise we can choose any name we want, just can't be a keyword there. Every Java program has a particular entry point, a beginning place that the Java virtual machine looks to start from. That is the main method. So let's type out our main method: public static void main, all lowercase, and then we're going to type in string in parentheses with a capital S, square brackets, args, args, and then we're going to do our open and closing curly brace. Now this, again, you can see some things have changed to purple, and those are keywords, and the other colors we will talk about at a later time. The main method is the backbone of a program. It is the method that is executed first, and it needs to be typed exactly like I have it on the screen right here. Inside the main method, or any other method that we write, we put Java statements to get executed. So I'm going to do a Java statement here, system.out.println. That's going to print me something to the console. And I'm going to say, don't look back in anger. And I put that in quotes so it prints out exactly as I type it. Don't look back in anger. And I end it with a semicolon, which is important. And let's do another one, system.out.println. And we're going to say Oasis because that's who sings the song. And we end that with the semicolon as well. And again, Oasis is inside quotes. Now, if we were to right click in this file and I could run this file, we're going to see those two things print out to our screen here. So we just made a small program that prints out two things to the console, but there is a lot going on with keywords and Java statements that are getting executed and the things that happen. And notice it printed out this one first and this one second because code is executed from top to bottom in that order. So even a basic program has a lot going on in it. Now, before we switch to program flow and see some more larger programs and we try to trace what's happening, let's talk about symmetry. Symmetry means that everything that opens needs to have a close, particularly brackets, parentheses, and things like that. So we have a couple different types of brackets here. We have curly brackets. Now, curly brackets encompass code blocks. They go around our classes, they go around methods and things like that, if statements and loops. And every time we open a curly brace, we need to close a curly brace. So everything needs to get typed between the two curly braces for the class, as we can see there, and then every Java statement needs to be typed between our two curly braces for the main method or some kind of method that we have written. So curly braces kind of encompass these coding blocks. The next thing that we see on the screen is parentheses. Parentheses go around methods or arguments for methods that we call, and we'll see more of that when we look at our next example, but we also see it here with the system.out.println. And again, every time we open it, we need to close it. If I were to miss one of these closings, I'm going to get an error. It's not going to work. You can see a little red thing appeared on the screen there. The same thing if I get rid of a curly brace. It's gone. I have an error. Something appears to be broken. The final matching thing that we have on here is these square brackets. Now this has to do with arrays, which is a topic that we get to later. So I'm not going to say any more on that, but just know, again, symmetry. Every time we open something, we need to close it. Now we're going to switch and look at a larger program, and not much larger, but it will definitely have more code in it. So let's go look at our Toy Story program. And we can see here, we have some code written out. Now, what I want you to think about is, where do you think this program starts executing? What do you think happens when it starts executing? So what do you think is going to get printed out there? Take a moment, pause the video, write it down, jot it down, shorthand it, whatever you need to write it down, and then unpause, and we'll be talking about what actually happens. Hopefully you said that the program starts executing in the main method, which is correct. It does. And the first thing that it sees is Woody quote. So it actually goes and finds the method called Woody quote. So it goes down here and it says, okay, here's that method. And what it does is it executes everything inside this method before it's allowed to return to who called it. So it goes in here. It's going to print out that wasn't flying. And then this has finished, meaning it's allowed to go back up to here where it was called and move on to the next line. So it will do Woody quote, which prints out this, and then it will move on to the next line and do to infinity and beyond. And then that's the end of our closing curly brace for the main method, meaning the program is over. We can see those two lines get printed out right now. So let's add a little more code to this and then trace through what's happening here. Now we have more code on the screen, more methods getting called. What is the order of things that get printed out for this program? Why is that the order? So I want you to pause again and write down, shorthand down, the order that things get printed out, why you think it's that way, make a little note or try to figure it out, and then unpause, come back, and we'll be talking about it again. So again, here we start with the main method, and then we see a print statement in here. I can't stop Andy from growing up. So we're going to print out that first. That's the first line of code that we hit. And then we have our Woody quote method. So we should remember that we go down, we find the Woody quote, and we print everything that's in there. We execute everything that's in there. So that wasn't flying will show up second. And then once that is finished, we move back up here and we continue on to the next line, which is another method call. So we're doing a system.out.println and we're printing out another method call's results. So we go find the method called another quote. It happens to be up top here. And now we go and we execute everything inside this method from top to bottom. Well, the first thing in this method is another method call. So we're jumping around a lot here, but it's important to kind of be able to trace through this stuff. And this is kind of an easier one to trace through because it's just a bunch of prints. There's not other stuff going on. So if you can stick with me through this, watch it a couple times, hopefully eventually you'll kind of get it. If you don't, reach out to me and I'll give you some other examples. But anyways, the first thing we see in here is another method call. So we have to go find this method change movie, and we find it all the way down here. So we go to change movie and we have a print statement in here. So we execute everything in here from top to bottom and we print out it is our choices. And then we go back. Once we have finished this method, we go back to where we were called, which is up here. We don't go back to the main yet. So we need to go back to another quote because there's still more code in another quote that has to finish executing. So we go back up here and then we do this return. And now we've reached the end of another quote, meaning we're allowed to go back to where it was called, which is our main method. So now that we have those two things get printed out from here, the results from change movie, and then it matters not what someone is born. We come back to the main method after those things get printed, and then we end with to infinity and beyond. So let's run this, and then we'll see all those results appear on the screen here. So we can see the I can't stop, that wasn't, it is R, and then we have it matters not, to infinity and beyond. So that's kind of the flow there. And again, I encourage you to watch that a couple times, trace through it a couple times, do it as I'm doing it to kind of understand how that movement happens. And there we have it. We saw some Java symmetry, some order of things that happened. We have a flow of Java program, basic understanding right now. And that's where we're going to wrap up for today. In the next video, we're going to talk about naming conventions and variables and all that kind of good stuff to start making a little more complex programs that do some more than just print out words to the screen. So until then, everybody, have a week.